It's Migmi, and we're talking about Yakisoba, like stir fried noodle today. And stir fried noodle is like some kind of casual fast food meal. Noodle meal that's like really great for takeout, takeaway, delivery meal. So that's what we're talking about today. So let's get into the class, and then. Well, what we're doing today is that like we're gonna go through like a really short lecture first, and then maybe we're gonna make noodles that are great for yakisoba, stir-fried noodles, and we're gonna move to the kitchen where we're gonna show like just a few examples of yakisoba dishes for you guys to try. So, all right, so let's get started, and I'm gonna do like just a little lecture, like some of you might have seen it like before, like some of the slides, and so yakisoba noodles today, like we were talking about. So why do we stir fry noodles in the first place, and what's the purpose, and what do we get out of it, right? What do we get out of stir frying? And then like we're gonna talk about best noodles to be stir fried, and what we need to care about when making noodles for stir fry noodles dishes from scratch, and what's important in making great stir fry noodles from scratch, right? And maybe we're gonna make stir fry noodles, and we're gonna move to the kitchen and do there's I think it's gonna be two the dishes, and followed by Q&A. So let's get started. So why do we even like stir fry noodles in the first place, and the purpose and benefits? So you basically stir fry noodles to develop a unique flavor, right? Through like it's really intense heat, like it's really hot, and and then we apply seasoning to the ingredients in the noodles and like all these toppings, and we want to bring this crispy texture to the noodles and the other ingredients by applying like really high heat, and the quick cooking like enables serving of hot food fast. Okay, so the yakisoba or stir-fried noodles, consists of like these four elements, and like oils, right? Oils being the oils to stir-fry, to like prevent them from sticking, and also add some kind of flavor, and the for seasoning sauce, and for toppings, like there are vegetables and protein, like some meat, piece of meat, the noodles, of course, right? And so let's talk about oils first. And so oils for stir frying, like there are many different types of oils we use for stir frying noodles, and typically like sesame oil, sunflower oil, like canola oil, and basically like what they call like smoke point. That's the point where like once it reaches that point, like 175 degrees Celsius to like 210 degrees Celsius for sesame oil. Once the oil reaches the point, then like some like smoke is going to come out, and then the characteristic oil is going to degrade, and it's not really good for health. So, we want to keep the temperature, like heating temperature, under the smoke point. And, there are some applications of each of these oils that are listed, but there are many of them. And then, typically we use sesame oil, for canola oil, and yeah, lard, right? Lard, it's a natural fat. And so, yeah, so we've been like doing this ramen school for the past 20 years, and they're like, we've been making this something called like flavored oils, and so in this stir-fry noodles or yakisoba, like we thought like why don't we bring this to yakisoba as well, right? So like we make flavored oils by basically adding vegetable oils, like all like other fat and stuff, like what ingredients, and it just will apply heat, right, to bring these flavors of the ingredients into the oil. And so that's very very simple. And so we have like some like scallop oil, like we have like onion oil, like garlic oil. So all these oil that we make, right, for or about ramen, like if you guys like run ramen shop, for example, we could also use them for our yakisoba, like stir fried noodles. And seasoning, right? So typically, what kind of seasoning we use for yakisoba, like like Worcestershire sauce, right? And then like some vinegar and some like oyster sauce. Some of them use actually curry and like miso as well. Like in this, some like salt tare and soy sauce tare. And so talking about tare, like we also, make one as one of the components, like as seasoning for ramen soup, right? Like we make tare as well. So how to make tare is very simple. Just we again, like we have so many ingredients, right? We have the scallop powder, like sodium powder and stuff. Like then just we just um, infuse these ingredients into the like soy sauce, for example, or like salt water to get that bring the flavors of these ingredients out into these tare, right? So this is how we make them, and then we can definitely use them for yakisoba sauce as well because it's got like all these flavors of like all these ingredients, right? And then got like really good high level of like sodium, and you got like good flavors of soy sauce as well. So yeah, we could use them to create soba as well. So and talking about the noodles, so there are two ways basically that we use the noodles to process noodles for stir-fried noodles. And so first of all, like we make noodles, right? Fresh noodles, from scratch, and then we either boil them or steam them first, right? And then the steaming, right? Steaming like gives them like you know a yeah, it's like kind of moisture, kind of permeate into the noodles, fresh noodles, and so they get like sort of like cooked, right? In a way, like because there's a heat and there's a steam, like moisture, kind of like boiling, but like it's not really, but like they get steamed, right? And then so kind of cooked in a way. So in terms of like what we've been saying, like kind of gelatinized the condition. And but after that, like we need to boil them a little bit, boil the noodles a little bit. Like when you go to like supermarket and like there may be some like noodles that are kind of steamed for stir-fry noodles, and then you buy them, and then you could use them like just right out of the bag, but like you can also like boil them to kind of make them soft before you stir-fry them, right? So that's one way to do it. And then like, or like you can just, make fresh noodles and, boil them, get them gelatinized, and then just stir fry them. And so that's another pattern that we do for the noodles. And so these are the pictures like of these the different like so the one on the left like actually that's the steamed noodles, and then the one on the right is just the cooked noodles. But like we could do like both ways, but the noodle texture would be like a bit different. And so basically noodle texture versus like taste or like intensity. Um, there's a pattern like there's a tendency that like that thinner the noodles the stronger the taste then the thicker the noodles like more people more care more about noodle texture than the taste of the sauce. So if you want to have like sort of like stuffed noodles that you want your customers like taste like more of the sauce rather than like noodle texture, then you may want to choose like thinner noodle size. And so kind of getting deeper into noodle texture, and so this is the chart that we use right to describe different types of noodles. And stir-fried noodles has very large kind of variations um, in terms of the hardness and in terms of like noodle size. And yeah, there's like kind of thin noodle size, but like it's probably as thin as like 1.4, 1.5 millimeter, and then but like there are like very thick ones. I mean, especially like when it comes like when people like make noodles by hand, right? They could be like really thick and very chewy. And the noodle texture, we should think about it like in the ways of like in ingredients, what kind of ingredients we use, like especially protein, kind of flour, wheat flour, and hydration, so how much water we put in there, and the noodle size and shape, and the serving size, right? And so we construct noodle recipes in terms of like wheat protein, like the viscosity of the wheat, hydration, and noodle size, and whether they're served like cold or hot. But like in this case with yakisoba, like or stir fry noodles, so we first steam or like boil them, right? And then we stir fry them. So like depending on the size, like thickness of the noodles, the area, that they get the noodles get like steamed or boiled, and then they, later like they get fried or like stir fried, be different, right? So like how much areas like they're gonna be like in terms of like well that get fried or stir fried, and depending on that, right? The amount of like the area of well the chewiness or like so the core of the noodle will be like chewy, but like outside like they're burnt or like stir fried, gonna be like crispy. So it's a balance between the chewiness and the crispiness. So yeah, so that's what you want to think about like when you're choosing noodle size, and then the kind of texture you want your customers to experience. So okay, and so we're gonna go through this noodle making process as like Megumi makes gonna make the noodles, and so let's start making. But like before we go, right? So cooking noodles is kind of important, and to make sure that like noodles are gelatinized, right? And then otherwise like noodles still raw, then your customers like you get like stomach aches and stuff like so. You wanna cook the noodles to a certain point, and then the noodle get gelatinized, so that gelatinization is like starch of noodles, take up liquid and then swell upon like heating, and it becomes like kind of clear gel-like texture. You have to cook the noodles to the point before you start stir frying them. So that's yeah. So that you have to do before you start stir frying your noodles to make your yakisoba noodles. So, all right, so let's get started on the noodle production part. And yeah, so this is Richmond one machine, and yeah, it's a Richmond one machine, and so let me prepare the ingredients there, and then yeah, so we don't have a table today, so we just put the ingredients on the noodle machine. But like, so basically the wheat flour, so basically the wheat flour, kind of wheat flour we use, right, is just like kind of wheat flour we use for regular ramen noodles, and um, so we've done like many types like yakisoba noodles before, and then the typical, the most frequently done, is this one that uses the wheat flour and whole egg powder, and for the liquid, we just add the salt and kansi into the water. And so whole egg powder, it's like that's eggs in powder form, kind of dried egg, and yeah, we use that kind of egg in Japan, and yeah, that's the percentage of egg whole egg powder is like well just 2% of the total of the solid ingredients, and so we're going to add liquid into the mixer. And this is a 10 kilograms mixer, and the minimum batch is 4 kilograms, so that's what we're doing this mixer right now. And she added the liquid, and liquid is slowly added to the flour, little by little. And yeah, so we made the dough in advance, right? Exactly the same recipe, exactly the same recipe, and we're going to what we're going to do now is that like we're going to make sheet of dough out of this dough, right? So we are making like we are like feeding this dough into the roller. There are two rollers in this machine, and um, yeah, we can adjust the roller gap between these two rollers, and then yeah, and then so the dough is going pass through this gap, right? And then um, the dough gets turned into a sheet, right? Sheet of dough, and yeah, that's what we're doing. So it's a sheet of dough, and that's coming out, and you're going to wind it onto the rolling pin, and yeah, so we're just gonna get it wound up on the rolling pin. So the first process is just to make like a rough sheet of dough, and it's kind of forcing the scrambled dough into well the sheet shape, and then so that's what we're doing. So yakisoba is very different different type of noodles from like ramen noodles, but like because they need to be like well stir fried, and like basically the surface noodles are gonna have to like get burnt, and so it's like after you cook the noodles, and then the core and you know certain areas will be like kind of chewy, but like outer surface noodles like they get burned, right? Like the high heat, the like frying pan, or like the hot plate, right? So like these noodles would have to like endure that like high heat, and like stir frying like for a certain period of time. And even though you make the noodles in a certain way, like, and then you can actually eat these noodles as like ramen noodle, like hot soup noodle, but yeah, but like if you eat them like in a hot soup, and then you eat them like in stir fried noodles as stuffing noodles, like the texture would be like very different. So um, you'd have to consider the sort of like the final kind of like the texture that your customers actually experience, right, when you're making noodles. So and after the first like sheeting process, that's like we call rough forming, and the dough is like still very fragile, right? And so what we're doing is that like we are well separating it into two, right? Two separate sheets, and combine them through the roller. So this way we are strengthening the dough, and yeah, so basically it's like kind of kind of like building muscle inside the dough, right? So that like it's gonna have like pretty firm texture, good texture. Yeah, when your customers like biting them. So compounding process is a kind of process like we also need to do like when you're making ramen noodles and other types of noodles. Like so on this machine, like ramen noodle making machine. Yeah, so we do this process to basically strengthen the noodle texture, like make it stronger, like firmer, and yeah, basically for better texture, better chewier, firmer. And so that was the first one. That was first combined process, and we usually do this process like one or twice, right? And so this is the second round of compounding process. Right, and then so yeah, from this point on, we want to start dusting the dough. So dusting the dough, and because we want to keep it from sticking. And yeah, so this is the automatic duster that this machine has, and then yeah, you can adjust the like volume dusting, how much do you want to dust, depending on the hydration of the dough. And for this dough, the hydration is not that high actually. Like it's like kind of what we call like medium hydration ratio, like I say like 34% or so, and so it's not that wet, and it's it doesn't have like high chance of like getting stuck together, but like um, yeah, but we like just want to make sure that they're not going to stick, right? So want to dust it, and then after the second combining process, right? Um, so all we do is just thin it, right? Thin it to the final thickness. So we'll just thin it, and so again, like winding the dough, rolling pin, the dusting, and from this point on, we're going faster and faster. Like we can adjust the speed of the roller, right? We can go faster, right? And maybe we do another round of thinning. So what's important here is that like we want to like thin it gradually, like a little by little. We don't want to thin it like all at once, like like say like 3 millimeter to 0.5 millimeter or something like that, because that would just damage the gluten structure that we've developed so far inside the dough. So yeah, that would damage the noodle texture, and yeah, so we want to go gradually. right? So that dough like actually passed through the roller gap like 1.5 millimeter right now, and the actual thickness would be is 1.9, 1.8, somewhere around there. So there's a difference between the roller gap we set and actual thickness. And yeah, so basically the difference is like how much, the dough bounces back, right? How much is bounced back after it's gone through the roller gap. So that tells us, what's that? Yeah, and then we use this, the cutter that actually cuts the dough sheet into the strands of noodles. And the size we're using is number 20, which is 1.5 millimeter in width. And so each noodle strand is going to be like 1.5 millimeter in width. And the thickness is controlled by the roller gap, right? So uh, we usually aim at thickness like 1.3 and width of 1.5 in this case. So yeah, let's start cutting. And yeah, yakisoba noodles, basically like the length or the serving size, there is not um, much of like definition or anything like, but like because yakisoba would be like really just the noodles and the toppings or like well the size, right? So like people like expect like noodles, right? People like expect to be eating noodles from a yakisoba dish. So I'd say like serving size should be like bigger, and so you know if your customers like, expect like bigger serving size, then like you want to like make your noodles longer. So it's very easy to do that like in this machine, like just make them longer or like making shorter for the smaller serving size. It's very easy to do it. So once you set the length, right, and then just the machine just just portions it at that length for every single serving that it cuts. Okay, so that's beautiful. And so this is the sort of like kind of thinner side of um, noodles, right? Like for yakisoba noodles, kind of thinner side. It's like 1.5 millimeter. That's like yeah, thin yakisoba noodles. It's like well, if it's too thin, then like it's like because you have to like stir fry them, so they make it kind of well break or like too crispy or so. Yeah, 1.5 millimeter, 1.4 millimeter would be like kind of the thinnest noodle size for you. So okay, let's go to a kitchen, right? And yeah, um, mm, okay. Yeah, so this is our kitchen, and yeah, so this is where like we teach, our ramen school, like udon school, and yeah, and then we do like a lot of testing, different types of tests, like make different types of noodles. And so this is a squid ink noodles like we made like in yesterday. This is like in a flat one, flat noodles, and this is this is actually round shaped noodles. Hard to see, but like a round shaped noodles, like that's like 1.8 millimeter, like 1.6 millimeters much, kind of like pasta size and spaghetti size, and it's yeah, like noodles with yeah, whole wheat powder, kneaded in them. It's like kind of thicker size. Yeah, it's like almost like 2 millimeter, and it's like thinner size. That's 1.6 millimeter. So different sizes, like different noodle texture, and in case like squid ink noodles, that's they're like different flavors, different color. And so we're going to do like two yakisoba dishes, and yeah, so like these are kind of like typical kind of toppings, for yakisoba, right? And it's like cabbage, like garlic, minced garlic, and then onions, and bean sprouts and carrots. So we're gonna do first the squid ink yakisoba, and yeah, for squid ink yakisoba, like we had already the toppings like already stir fried or prepared. Um, but yeah, so for this noodle, the cooking time is like about 2 minutes. Sorry, 3 minutes. And it really kind of depends on like if you want to cook them like kind of overcook them, and then stir fry them like kind of for longer to make them crispier, or you know if you want to cook them like kind of shorter, to like like make them stay hard, right, harder, and then well, stir fry them like for a shorter time or something. Well, kind of really depends on yeah, how you want to sort of like finish them, for different like kind of noodle texture you want your customers to experience. So yeah, it just really depends. And yeah, so like we make this kind of like tare from ramen, like our ramen school, and this is like the soy sauce, like shoyu tare, with like three different shoyu tare, like actually blended. And this particular one, like actually, well, we actually make them by heating the soy sauce, like those like when those ingredients, the soy sauce, to get the flavors that can infuse into the soy sauce. And yeah, it was made the last, not the last, but like yeah, that like the ramen school like we did in February. But we have like other stuff like this is the oil, flavored oil, and it's a leek oil, like we could use that for like kind of stir frying as well. And this is also like flavored oil, like in this scallop oil, like yeah, that's just sound of it, like just makes Rocky made like really good stir fry noodles. There's another salt tare, and um, yeah, and yeah. So like we like many types of them that we make our school, and actually how you can make each of them is actually available at our online school. So if you yeah, so if you're interested in like learning how to make them, right? Yeah, you can check out our ramen online school. So we have like all these right toppings already like stir fried, and the sauce that yeah, me made using some of the soy sauce, curry, right? And then um, like sauce, right? And then some of them actually use the oyster sauce as well. Um, and then add a bit of like sake as well, like in there. And yeah, the squid ink noodles, and then you actually add like some of the squid meat in there as well. So that's um, very well. So it's sort of like kind of seafood um, type yakisoba noodles, and yeah. So Megan is going to start cooking another one. So we added the sauce, right? And then it's a liquid, like it's a little bit like liquid sauce, and then depending on the sauce that you use, kind of viscous the sauce itself has, right? Like it will be like different, like, and then if you add like kind of like oyster sauce or something like that, it's a bit less liquid. So yeah, you so you can gonna have like less liquid in there, like but like more viscous kind of texture. Okay, and another yakisoba like we're gonna do it right is that like we're going to do that the noodles that we needed the whole wheat powder in it, right? And they are relatively thick actually. They are relatively thick. Um, I think it's like 2.2 millimeter, 2 millimeter. And then so what we're gonna do is that like we're going to because like it's the yakisoba. Like yaki means like burn or like stir fry or yeah. So we're actually going to yeah burn it, burn the noodles first, and make them crispy, right? And then we're going to like stir fry like all these like the toppings and others, right? To yeah, and then like combine them together, and then like finish them with a sauce. Uh, this time around, that's going to be like salt sauce, shiotare. And yeah, so we're using the induction cooker, which is actually it's almost like even though it's like tabletop, even though it's tabletop, like it's pretty strong. It's pretty strong. Um, so we have to be careful, like the what sort of like level of heat we set at that. So make sure that like you strain the water as much as you can, and um, yeah, strain the water as much as you can, and you know, and then yeah, you start like uh, frying them. And then you need to sort of kind of fry them like for a while because like there are a lot of water in there, and you have to like um, heat them heat them really well to kind of vaporize all the water before like noodles start getting like sort of like crispy, like burnt. And yeah, there are a lot of sort of like yakisoba specialty restaurants, shops in Japan, and so they have like a really big like the grill plate, right? Grill plate, so where they can do like all these maybe like 10 servings of stir-fried noodle yakisoba, right, at the same time, and um, and then they like burn one side, and then like some of them like actually burn like both sides, and then um, yeah, and after that like they cook the all these um, yeah, toppings and then everything, right, and then yeah, like, and then combine them with the noodles. Yeah, so we can start like frying the toppings. So start with the 통, 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 야, 통, 한 3분의 1. Okay, and we add a little bit of oil to the oil, and garlic too. Okay. Oh, that was cool. So once like the meat start like turning brownish, want to start like adding like all these vegetables. And there are many variations. Like you can add like all kinds of different types of vegetables that you think are going to be good for stir frying noodles, right? And yeah, and any kind of meat, any kind of like protein that you can think of, right? It's really up to you. And yeah, but like typically, right? It's like cabbage, like it's always almost always there, right? And then like some onions, right? Sliced onions, and the bean sprouts. Yeah, like bean sprouts, like well, usual suspect, and then um, maybe like some carrots, right? Like um, thinly chopped, like carrots, and if you if you want like make them like a little more like Chinese style, you may want to add like some other like bok choy, or like some like celery, right? Celery um, and then yeah, some of them actually use like some like miso paste, like kind of spicy miso paste as well, like to add like a bit of spice to it. Um, yeah, so it really kind of depends on what's available and what you want to put in there, and then like for the color as well. So and after you yeah after like you cook the stuff like noodle all these like toppings, you add the noodles, and then just kind of combine them well, and then sort of like finish with the sauce, and then yeah you want to yeah, I mean some of them like want to like actually get rid of like as much liquid moisture as possible, to sort of like kind of bring out the kind of crispness in the noodles, and also like some of the ingredients, some of the toppings as well. So then yeah, but like certain types of yakisoba, the like these yakisoba especially noodles shops that serve, go for like stir frying noodles first, and then because make them crispy, and then combine them with other kind of ingredients later to finish. So there are just two like they're like maybe like so yeah, we just did like two patterns, right? So you first stuff like everything, right? Toppings, everything, and then cook the noodles, and then combine with the toppings, right? And then in this case, right, we stir fried noodles. I mean, we cook the noodles and then stir fry them, just noodle themselves, right? We make them crispy, and then stir fry all the toppings, and then combine them with the noodles. So there are two patterns, right? And then one of them like gives you like really crispy noodles. Another one gives you like kind of soft, but like the same like kind of chewy and firm noodles. So yeah, so these are the two patterns like yakisoba you can go for, and there are many different types of like yakisoba you can do, and some of the yakisoba specialty shop like actually provides you with customization, right? Customization, and it's very easy to do it. Like just pick, let your customers pick the toppings and noodles. You can have like probably a few types of noodles and the seasoning and and that's very easy. Yeah, like what kind of fiber you want they want, and what kind of like protein they want. Yeah, so that's very easy. So that's what we have for this class. And but yakisoba noodles is very casual and simple, but like at the same time, like there are many things that you can do differently. So thank you so much. Bye bye.